faces this problem? Today across the world and also as well as in India, all of you must be witnessing that a lot of services today citizens are able to avail it by the click of a button on their mobile phone, whether it is booking a flight, booking a hotel or ordering food also. Today lot of such services are available as a matter of convenience to the public. But however, when it comes to availing taxi services on app, there is some amount of inconvenience or resistance to use app-based taxis. Next slide, please. What is the impact of not having app-based taxis on our day-to-day life? This is one important slide I would like to pay attention to. For example, if you look at a metric like vehicular density, in India, for every 1,000 population, if you have 246 private vehicles or vehicles in general, in Goa, for every 1,000 population, you have around 882 vehicles, which means for every one single vehicle in India, there are 4 vehicles in the state of Goa. So, when mobility as a matter of convenience is not available public, obviously it leads to increased number of self-driven or private vehicles, which leads to traffic congestion and parking overflow issues. With more vehicles on the roads, there is also an increased risk of road accidents. And in addition to just being a matter of road safety concern, if you look at a lot of working women within Goa, whether they are architects or doctors or professionals or workers in industrial estates, when they would want to access mobility or avail mobility or taxi services, it is also very inconvenient, and there is no safe and reliable option even for working women within the state of Goa. Similarly, if you look at other stakeholders of our society, whether it is senior citizens or differently abled people, it is very inconvenient if they are not able to find a taxi on a mobile phone, book a taxi and then avail that taxi service at their doorstep. More vehicles obviously lead to more vehicular pollution on the streets, and all this could also lead to an impact on the tourism potential of our beautiful state. Next slide, please. So therefore, what we feel as a department is that it is not just a matter of inconvenience to the tourists. App-based taxis, the lack of presence of it is an inconvenience to every single Goan, and it is a much more bigger problem to the Goans than to the tourists. Next slide, please. We would like to showcase some data that ascertains what we are trying to say. For example, these are the tourist arrivals in the state of Goa, which has been provisionally published by the GGBC in the year 2024. And if you consider 5 days as the average length of stay for domestic tourists, 7 days as for international tourists, and if you assume that 25% of their tourist days will result in a taxi trip, the total taxi trip generated by tourists will be only 1 crore 32 trips per year. On the other hand, with 15 lakh population in the state of Goa, if we assume that a very meager amount of at least 3% of the locals utilize taxis on a day-to-day basis, then the local demand itself will be far exceeding that of the tourist demand. So this is the most important aspect which I will request the media friends present here to bring it into the public domain. And this very clearly showcases that the need for convenience is more felt need domestic for the local population as much as it is a felt need for the tourists. Next slide, please. So, but what is the problem with the app aggregators, and why are drivers hesitant to come onto the app aggregators? Because sometimes most of the apps, they do take certain commission cuts, and resultant earnings of the drivers are much lesser than what is a government notified fare. So next slide, please. So we would like to explain this with this simple illustration. Consider a taxi whose notified rate by the government is 36 rupees per kilometer, and if the driver is operating that taxi without any app, the customer pays 360 rupees and the driver earns 360 rupees, and therefore there is no commission cut or any kind of reduction in the driver earnings. But let's say there are 2 aggregators, one is ABC, the other one is PQR. The aggregators, because they want to attract more customers to use their platform, would try to offer the same taxi at a much cheaper rate of lesser than 360 rupees, sometimes all the way up to 250 to 80 rupees, and then the actual driver earning comes to something in the range of 15 rupees per kilometer or 20 rupees per kilometer. Next slide please. See, as you can see that there is a very clear-cut difference in the earnings of the driver when they are operating without the app or with the app. Next slide please. And you can see that the anomaly in this issue is that there is no compromise in the commission cuts, and this is the major apprehension and the source of insecurity as to why the drivers do not want to use aggregators for providing app-based services to the public. Next slide please. So what is the solution and what we are trying to propose as a solution through the Goa Transport Aggregator Guidelines 2025? In this solution, what we are trying to propose is to balance the need of a passenger's convenience with the need to ensure that the driver's earnings are also protected. And how do we propose to do this? Next slide please. So these are the key 3 highlights of the Goa Transport Aggregator Guidelines. I believe that you are all having the notified draft copy of these guidelines. So you can also find out all the other information about these guidelines in the notified copy. But at this point here, I would like to summarize 3 important highlights of the Goa Transport Aggregator Guidelines. The first condition for any aggregator to operate in the state of Goa is that they can aggregate only the taxis which are registered in the Goa and with a valid permit in the state of Goa. Secondly, all the drivers that the app aggregators aggregate should have a public service vehicle badge as per the Rule 4 of Goa Motor Vehicle Rules 1991. The third and the most important highlight of the Goa Transport Aggregator Guidelines is every aggregator who wants to operate in the state of Goa has to pay the driver the government notified fare and not even 1 rupee less than the government notified fare. Next slide please. So if we come back to the same illustration that we discussed before, under these transport aggregator guidelines, the business will be as follows. Next slide please. That if whether a driver is operating without the app or whether a driver is operating under aggregator ABC or under aggregator PQR, these guidelines, through the government, these guidelines are providing a legal guarantee for every driver that he will be paid a notified fare and not lesser than that of notified fare. So you can go to the next slide. So what this does is that aggregators would now focus on reducing their commission, in competing with each other in terms of quality, in terms of the technological innovation, so as to provide better quality services to the public. Instead of compromising or doing a cut on the driver's earning, which is where the driver is putting all the hard work on the roads to actually earn his livelihood, the transport aggregator guidelines are providing a very clear guarantee to the driver earnings by mandating that the aggregators should pay the driver whatever is the government notified fare per kilometer. Next slide please. So therefore, the most important thing about this solution is it empowers the taxi drivers and it gives them the freedom to choose any mode of service delivery. So therefore, it settles this whole issue about why we should have an app or why we should not have an app. Because if some taxi driver or the taxi owner does not want to use an app, he can continue to operate it from whichever place he is operating with whatever mode of service delivery he is using. Or if some driver wants to use only one app, he can continue to be on that one app. Or if some driver wants to be on multiple apps, that is also permissible under these guidelines. But in any case, in every case, the driver is going to earn whatever is the government notified fare. And since that option that everybody is earning the same notified fare, it gives absolute freedom for the drivers to choose whichever mode of service delivery they want. And therefore there is no need to kind of either oppose or support this app, because if you are opposing the app, the only thing you have to do is just uninstall and continue to do your business. And if you are supporting the app and you want to take advantage of that app and find more customers on app, then that also can be done without having any concern or insecurity that my earnings might be cut in the form of commission. Next slide please. So this is to summarize some of the key highlights. These transport aggregator guidelines are applicable to motor cars as well as bike taxis. And most important, the highlight of these guidelines is that all drivers must be paid the government notified fare, and aggregators cannot restrict a driver from using multiple apps, and therefore a driver can at the same time install multiple aggregator apps on his phone and find customer on any app. And if a driver is providing service on an app, then no digital fare meter is required. This is not a part of the guidelines, but a separate amendment has been made to Rule 140 of the Goa Motor Vehicle Rules to this effect. And all the payments to the driver should be made within 72 hours from the completion of the journey. And in case such payments are not made, a 25% penalty will be levied on aggregators for delayed payments. So under these guidelines, we have also proposed for setting up of a dedicated grievance redressal mechanism, that wherein if the driver is feeling that his payment has not been made, he can make a complaint to that grievance redressal mechanism, and that grievance redressal mechanism has the power to impose penalties on aggregators and also to suspend or cancel their license if any kind of such violations are found. Next slide please. Well, we have also included some other incentives under the guidelines. There is a 10 lakh health insurance that every driver is entitled to with the current financial year as the base year and an increment of 5% every year. And all the drivers who are using app-based services, government will provide an annual vehicle insurance reimbursement of up to 50% or 20,000, whichever is lower. And in order to encourage female drivers, this reimbursement of annual insurance vehicle will be up to 100% or 30,000. And in case of female drivers, this health insurance will cover the parents and children also. And to encourage female drivers to come into taxi business, a 1 lakh subsidy per purchase of a new electric vehicle will be provided as a part of these guidelines. Next slide please. So before we came to this stage of putting out this draft guidelines, we have had several consultations with all the industry key stakeholders, taxi drivers. So next slide. So these are some of the photographs from all our consultations, and we have had several meetings with the taxi drivers. We have taken into consideration some of their views. We have explained to them how government is, through these guidelines, is giving a guaranteed revenue to the taxi drivers, and generally there has been a positive response, but as I said, it requires a lot of communication, awareness building, and more kind of counseling also is required in some places. But we have made our best efforts to take feedback from the taxi drivers, and generally we have received a positive feedback. And after publishing of this draft guidelines also, we will continue to engage closely with work with all the drivers, and we will be open to take suggestions from the drivers in the coming few days also. Next slide please. So this is the other side of it. So if the guaranteed assured income is provided to the drivers in terms of notified fares, the other question, other side of the public convenience is whether it will become costly because of this notified fare. So to allay such kind of fears, we have also worked out what will be the average cost of taxi per kilometer. This is based on the number of vehicles in each of those categories, from small hatchback to sedan to SUV and MPV, depending upon the percentage of vehicles located in Goa. We have worked out a weighted average of the taxi fare in Goa, which comes to around 32 rupees per kilometer. Next slide. So on that 32 rupees per kilometer, if you include GST, and if you take the average aggregator commission that is prevalent in our country, which is roughly in the range of 12%, and also add the GST on the commission, the total fare per kilometer comes to 38 rupees. And we have given some indicative fares, like how Mopa to Panji might cost on this kind of a system, which is reasonable enough, and that is how we feel that we have achieved this balance between ensuring the passenger convenience as well as protecting the interest of the taxi drivers. Next slide please. So that is all the briefing, but as I once again told in the course of presentation, as much as there is a demand for app-based taxis from tourists, I think that there is a very considerable amount of demand amongst the local population also to avail this convenience of having app-based taxis. which has multitude of benefits of reducing private and self-driven vehicles on the roads, reducing the vehicular density in the state of Goa, and reducing the incidence of road accidents in the state of Goa. So with that kind of a positive intention, in order to ensure that this convenience is available for public, and at the same time, none of the taxi drivers who are doing the hard work on the roads are not deprived of their income. We have balanced both public convenience and driver earnings, and we have come out with this Goa Transport Aggregator Guidelines 2025 under the guidance and leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister and Honorable Transport Minister. So accordingly, today we are making this press briefing, and thank you very much for attending this briefing. If there are any questions, I will take those questions and probably conclude this session. Thank you.
Sir, you have mentioned in second slide I saw that after this thing, the customer has to pay more, because before it was 360, and then after this thing, for aggregator, the customer has to pay 390, so they can give commission to the aggregators. So in this case, customer has to pay more.
Yes.
Then how it is?
See, whoever wants the convenience obviously has to pay more. Like if you want to go and eat food at restaurant, perhaps you will be paying 300 rupees for the food. But if you want to order the food home, so obviously there will be delivery charges. So जिसको स्टैंड पे जाके टैक्सी लेना चाहता है, they can take it at 360 rupees. But अगर घर में बैठ के if you want the taxi to come to your home, so obviously that convenience के लिए customer pay करना पड़ेगा.
And one more thing, these motorbikes have been added.
Yes.
Before
these
it was
guidelines
not
are agnostic to the vehicle. So therefore we have made it in an inclusive manner so that the bike taxis and motor cars both are included.
Before the agitation was with taxi driver, now the motorcycle, these pilots, they will be also starting then.
No, but that's what I want to say, that there is nothing to be worried about, because you are getting the government notified fare. So if you want to use the app, you can use the app. If you do not want to use the app, you don't need to use the app. But ultimately everybody is getting the same amount of government notified fare.
So this app is not compulsory for all taxis?
It is not, no, nothing is ever compulsory. It is always a freedom that is there with the taxi drivers. But the government's business is to regulate this whole business. So the regulatory aspect is such that every taxi driver or the bike pilot is going to get the government notified fare. So that is what government is assuring.
There was no issue with the motorcycle pilots, now the bike taxis. So why they have been added to this thing?
No, but they are also public service vehicles only. So they also have to be regulated under the same guidelines.
कुछ क्राइटेरिया है कुछ ज्वाइन होने के लिए?
ज्वाइन होने के लिए
ये जब एग्रीगेटर आपने बोला है
वो एलिजिबिलिटी कंडीशन से गाइडलाइंस में लिखा है क्लियरली क्राइटेरिया क्या होना चाहिए. बट मेन इंपॉर्टेंट कंडीशंस ये है कि दैट दे कैन ओनली एग्रीगेट गोवा रजिस्टर्ड व्हीकल्स. They can only have Goa like the public service vehicle, authorized public service vehicle badge holder drivers, and they have to pay the drivers the government notified.
So as per this policy, taxi drivers have there is no choice. Okay, taxi drivers have only one app aggregator.
No, nothing like that.
Afterwards, will there be more aggregators?
Yes, this is to make sure. You see, therefore, now how it becomes is basically as long as you are getting the government notified fare. Now the taxi drivers has the freedom to choose whatever app they want to choose, and they can demand for better quality. So that is what we are bringing through these guidelines, and I think that was clear enough in my presentation.
So that means more aggregators will be invited.
See, that is up to the taxi drivers. See, it's up to you. Like for example, if you want to use mobile network, you want best quality mobile network available to you. And if the rate is fixed that this is the rate, then obviously you will only focus on service delivery.
So government will provide aggregators, list of aggregators?
No, government will not provide aggregators. Its aggregators is also like how we have food delivery apps or how we have hotel booking apps. There are so many apps that provide that services. So any app that want to provide such services in Goa has to follow these guidelines and has to pay our drivers the government notified rate. So that is what the guidelines say.
So this aggregator has to register?
Correct. They need to. There are certain conditions.
Fees and all this.
Correct. And they have to renew their license once in every 3 years. Those guidelines and conditions of guidelines are in the clause 4 of these guidelines. So in order to keep it short and crisp, I did not go into all these details.
So aggregator companies are there is one now presently in the state, but they want to enter Goa, so they have made applications or anything.
So far we have not even, these are not final guidelines, this is only draft guidelines for public consultation. And we felt that it is important that we also apprise the media about what these draft guidelines are. And that is the reason why we are having this briefing.
So how much time is there for suggestion?
30 days.
30 days.
So when the government plans to put this after the window period, when it is looking at that.
So depending on the suggestions received and depending upon the comments or objections received, those contents will be considered by the government and then appropriately a final notification will be issued.
So right now there are how many taxis are there? Means which how many taxis are there?
Including the yellow black
Yeah.
tourist taxis, currently we have around 16,675 taxis.
16,000.
16,600 taxis roughly in the range.
Yellow black.
Including yellow black.
Okay.
Sir, also the question would arise.
Sorry.
There is single aggregator now, Goa miles.
Huh.
So when there is a single aggregator, there is a lot of issues with the local taxis. So do you think it is feasible to get more aggregators? Then this issue will be solved.
With these guidelines, I am very confident that it is feasible to bring more aggregators. It is now, as I mentioned already. See, whether you are operating on the app, not on the app A, B, C, whatever is the app, you are getting the same fare. So therefore, the drivers will now have the freedom and also that empowerment to demand that I want a very good aggregator, so that I can find more customers and more visibility in the market. So I think this is very, therefore it's balancing the driver's empowerment as well as the passenger convenience.
So this is rent a car or rent a bike, the things also included.
No, this is only for taxis. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.